You need to know what your superpower is, and you need to be confident about that on what you can deliver when that comes around, right? And I hate when people say, "Oh, I can bring value." Well, what's that mean? That doesn't mean anything because what's valuable to you might not be valuable to me.
So, when was the last time you met someone in this business who could talk title insurance, but also AI, business growth, all in one conversation? That's Brian McGroarty for you. A true Renaissance guy. He's helping people grow in ways they didn't expect. Today, he's here to talk about being a thought leader across fields, not just in title, and how it can make you a stronger partner, a smarter business owner, business development manager, whatever you're doing. You have to be able to talk in lots of different roles, wear lots of different hats. And he's actually someone that people want to partner with and want to work with. Brian, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to get a good conversation going.
Me too. Me too. So Brian and I met at it was at an event maybe about 2 weeks ago with Deanne and Tommy Kitsaros, who are actually just on the show as well. And, it was an AI event, and you were one of their sponsors, but what
Mhm.
really intrigued me about you was that you weren't talking about title, we were talking about AI and the level of service and the connector that you are on lots of different levels, not just on title, and I was like, "Wow, that's a true renaissance guy right there for you."
Appreciate that. Thank you. It's funny. Our world's changing, and back when you and I were younger, they were talked about the speed of computers changing so fast, and AI is going 10 times faster. And if you're not involved or at least learning or trying to get your foot in the door with AI, you're going to be gone and obsolete is probably a good word in a very short amount of time. And for me, I geek out about that kind of stuff. I kind of I'm in the headphones. I got my stuff. I'm ready. But when you get into AI and marketing, it makes your life easier.
It does, and I think, more people need to be thinking along those lines. You know, we say it all the time, if you haven't even dipped your toe into the ChatGPT water, you're gonna get run over, you're gonna get steamrolled. So having even a little bit of knowledge, but, really
Hmm.
being able to help people understand how they can use this in their everyday business is so huge, and fill in the blank, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you have to understand the social media game, you have to understand video, you have to understand AI, and if you're not playing
Hmm.
in that space, I hate to say it, but the gap is getting wider, just like you said.
It is.
It's not going away, everybody. Not going away.
Mm-mm. It's not. It's not. You have to be involved. I love Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm sure you've heard of him.
The best.
He's got the 79-21 rule. I'm not sure if you ever heard of that.
No, I don't know if I
So
have.
he talks about how you market your business. 79% of your efforts. Let's say you were just a great cold caller. Okay, so 79% of your time is going to go to cold calling. But then there's other things like social media. There's things that you might be just, door knocking. I don't know, all the different things you could do. And that would make up the 21%. And he said the reason why you kind of diversify those efforts in there is because one day he's like, you take an opportunity and all of a sudden, let's say postcards just are amazing for you or AI helps you out. Okay, great. But that could go from 3% over 7 different things to like 8% of your business. And then it grows and then it takes over. I mean, geez, many years ago, we talked about just typical realtors going out doing the postcards and digital marketing with maybe social media. But now we have a whole different level of it where there's like slide dials and all kinds of different ads that people
Mhm.
can put up. I mean, the opportunities are endless. So to go back to what you're saying, you got to at least dip your toes.
Yeah, and I love in true Gary Vaynerchuk style, Gary V style, most people say the 80-20 rule, but he's gotta take just a tiny bit of a different angle, right? The
Hmm.
79-20 21 rule. I think that's so smart. And,
Oh yeah.
he's definitely if you're a listener and you're not following Gary V, you are doing yourself a disservice.
Oh yeah, phenomenal story. Just to give everybody a recap, his family owned a wine store, and all he was is like one of the we'll call it original OGs of Twitter.
Yeah.
And he would get out there, and he just realized answering questions for people that were talking about wine became something. But he learned all different types of marketing techniques, and somebody that took an opportunity and ran with it. I mean, it's a hell of a story if you ever jump into that.
Yeah,
Great story.
it really is. It really is. So let's kinda use that to transition to your story and how,
Okay.
like, we started talking about, like I said, not title, talking about, just marketing in general. What came first, title or marketing for you?
For me, it was marketing, but that little degree right behind me over here from St. Joe's, I have a degree in psychology. I just love the way people think. I love the way they operate. What makes me funny doesn't make you funny. What it, the special things, your superpowers of maybe the gift of gab or the way you can talk to somebody versus how somebody else can just make somebody feel special. There's all kinds of different things in psychology. So I started out, believe it or not, with the idea of like, what the heck am I going to do with this degree? Because at a young age, I realized, well, I'm not going to make the money that I want to. And unless I could teach some athlete to hit free throws when they can't even hit the broadside of a barn, or maybe I write a book, I'm not going to make the money that I want to make.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't know. And actually, my mother owned a PR firm. And so I started
Oh,
with
nice.
her, learned a lot about PR. She had huge clients like American Cancer Society, local political venues. It was pretty awesome to get a firsthand point of view of what it's like to be in the trenches. But what I also realized really quick is I do not like being behind a desk and being behind a computer because that's where she put me, like data entry. First
Yeah.
starting out, I said, "Mom, can't do this." Shortly thereafter, I got into sales. I worked for a payroll company into a partnership with merchant services. Merchant services, the whole market took a tank, as we know, in around 2006, 2008, in between that time. And following that, a good friend of mine who I used to wait tables with, believe it or not, became a prominent real estate attorney. And here I am trying to think my life all over again. And he says, "Do you ever think about title insurance?" And like most people, that I said, "What the hell's title insurance?" And 15 years later, here I am.
You're like, "No, I haven't thought about title insurance." No
What the heck's
kid
that?
wakes up and says, "I wanna be in title when I grow up." But
Oh yeah.
they do say, "I wanna help people. I wanna make a
Hmm.
difference. I wanna
Yeah.
talk to people." And you're so right. I mean, when we get out of school, kids who get out of school right now have a totally different ballgame than I think those of us who graduated in the early 2000s from college
Hmm.
or before.
Oh
You
yeah.
got put in the desk job that nobody else wanted to do and then figured out real fast, this is not how I want to be spending the
Not me.
hours and days of my life. So let me make a change.
Hmm.
But how those building blocks really shape us
Yeah.
and they are the differentiator. Um, I love that your mom was in PR because PR is a great place to start and see kind of the full picture, the
Yeah.
full scope.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm
It
sure I'm sure you use that a lot of those skills that you learned way back then, even today.
all everything. There's always that infamous question, if you could have, all the knowledge, as you build up now or a bajillion dollars, whatever. I always say I'd rather have the knowledge than start over again at a certain age because I like the fact of all the trials and tribulations that I've gone through in order to get where I'm at now. Because, like you said, you pick and pull those things with you, you take them with you, right? When you have a struggle, that's experience, right? So, I mean, uh, a big part of my sales journey was the payroll and the merchant services side. I learned tons of objection handling through that side. I mean, I
Sure.
was sitting there trying to sell people payroll in places like South Philadelphia where they didn't even want to be on payroll. So it was a different time. It calloused me. It showed me marketing. It showed me branding, like you said, from my mother. Without those life experiences, those jobs, those short ventures in different careers, I mean, I wouldn't be where I'm at now.
Yeah, and I think many people fit into that category. A lot of times when you get out of college, it's like, okay, this is the career I'm going to be in forever. That's what you think. And that is not how it really is
No.
in the real world. But I
Oh
do
yeah.
think we gain skills along the way that we don't even know why we're learning certain things. I'm never going to use this. But then all of a
Yep.
sudden you look back and you're like, wow, that really did um shape me into the business professional that I am today. So I love that. I want to go
Sure.
back to your psychology degree.
Okay.
Um, how has that helped you to really form and build your team that you have? Because I know you've got a great team that you work with. And I'm always so interested in hearing how people fit together and how they've how they brought on certain people and why they brought on certain people to their teams. I'm sure that that great
Yeah.
psych degree came into play.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a long story to that, but I'll go short on it on this is that people have really great superpowers the way they're built, right? Certain creative people, they're awesome. They can come up with ideas and things that you wouldn't even dream of, but they are not the person to put in front of a desktop, right? They're not the person that you say, "Hey, knock out this list." That's not going to be them,
Right.
right? Then there's other people that they don't want to talk to one person on the phone, but I'll tell you what, you put them in front of that desktop and they will power through for 8 hours solid and not even blink twice. So, it's rare that you find people. I don't know if you're a big baseball fan. I'm a big baseball fan. They call it like the
Phillies, of course, right?
of course, of course. There's they call it a five tool player when you have somebody that can catch at bat, the whole nine, everything that's possible as a skill set they can do. It's rare when you find somebody that has five tools. And if they are, they're usually the person that's a business owner, right? They're the person that is doing the marketing, they're doing the sales, they're doing all the back end before they hire people. So using the psychology degree to get to your question, it's really try to understand where people where their strengths are and what's best. There's a lot of times too. We give people an opportunity to say, "Hey, I want to be a processor. I want to do this stuff," and then we realize that's not for you. That's definitely not for you. But what you are good at is this. And they carve out a great role within the company. We're not really a title company that hires and fires a lot. We don't go by seasons. That's pretty popular in my industry. We have people that have been with us for 25, 30 years. So, and I say that because even though the company is not 30 years old, the collective efforts of the people and the partners that have merged together, they've all stayed as a core group. So, there's my little pun in there.
Very nice. I see what you did there.
Yeah. But yeah, it works. It works. You got to know your people, and you got to listen. You got to listen when they say, "This is just not my thing. Get me away from this desktop," like I did one day with my mom.
Yeah. I mean, listening is huge because we can hear things, but then not do anything about it, and then we lose really great people. Um,
Ooh,
do
yeah.
you use any tools like the disc profile or the I don't know, there's a million of them out there, the Enneagram and all those different, assessment tools. Do you do any of those?
Not as much as you might think. Believe it or not, in my industry, you're getting closers, you're getting processors, you're getting salespeople, and then there might be some others that might be like front facing. So you're gonna know within a handful of weeks whether or not they're gonna cut or not. It's just like an athlete that's learning. Joe Flacco just got traded. If you're a football fan from the Cleveland Browns over to the Cincinnati Bengals, and he's gonna have to learn a playbook that's like this thick. Obviously, we're not asking somebody to learn something that much, but there are systems that we use, and how quickly are they going to adapt? What questions are they going to ask right up front? And I'm sure you've probably hired people yourself where the questions that they're asking, you're like, I don't
Yep.
think this is for you, and not that it's a bad thing. It's just that that's not where you should be, you know?
Yeah. No, it's true. It's not a good, bad, indifferent thing. It's just sometimes you just know. You just
Hmm.
know. Um, let's talk about marketing a little bit because, like I said, and the initial conversation was going the AI marketing route, and I was just really
Hmm.
impressed. I keep saying you're a renaissance guy, but I really do think in this day and age, that renaissance term where we have to have lots of different tools and tricks to really become that thought leader. It's so important. So are you someone who you're doing all your own marketing, you're using AI on a day-to-day basis, or are you doing kind of a combo of working with an outside company and doing your own stuff? I mean, this is the hot topic.
Oh yeah, it's a combination. And just like anybody else, I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses, and I know where my limitations are. There's partners and resources that I have that help us out with our CRM and building that to where you have automations, you have back end funnels, things of that nature that are I understand the concept, but if you ask me to do it, I'm not going to do it. It's not my wheelhouse. But when it comes to AI, I'm using that routinely, especially helping out my clients with their marketing, helping them discover their brand, their purpose, their superpower. So sometimes, you know, it helps out, especially with team leads when they're trying to control. the herding cats, right? They have a ton of, salespeople underneath them, and they're just trying to figure out the right way to implement something on a consistent level. AI can be absolutely pivotal in that process. So what I would say is I'm using every tool that I can. And sometimes I pick up a tool and I'm like, that's not for me. Put that one back, get a new one. But I realized a long time ago, I do not know everything. And I am a devourer of information and resources. So if you tell me tomorrow, hey, Brad, there's somebody that you need to meet because I think, they would be pivotal to your business. Yeah, I'm going to take that meeting. I'm not going to sit there and say I'm going to have an hour conversation with them, but I want to hear what they have to say. And I mean, they used to say the reason why Socrates had the Socratic method and he asked people questions all the time is because whether you were a vagrant, a bum on the street, versus somebody that was a high net worth individual, he wanted to know everything. And there was something that that person knew that he might not know. And I always thought that that was great. So I always look at that in the same way. You might know something I don't, and I want to see if it can help me out in my business or even help others.
Yeah, that's a great mentality. I love that. I love the question everything mentality. I probably have been taking that a little too far lately where I am literally questioning everything, but maybe that's not a
Yeah.
bad thing at certain seasons of life. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do think that is a valuable asset and such a simple thing to make sure that we're doing in our business, asking the right questions, asking the right people the right questions. And if we're
Hmm.
not doing that and constantly just blabbing, we're not
Hmm.
learning. Can't be talking and preaching and learning at the same time.
Oh,
So
yeah. I
so
think Did you ever hear of a Walt Whitman? I think it's don't be judgmental, be curious. Did you ever hear that? I don't know if you ever watched the show Ted Lasso, by the way. It's phenomenal. It's on
everyone I
Apple
need to
TV.
get into
So
it.
good.
Everyone tells me that I would
It's
love the
so good.
show. Yes.
It's so good. It's so good. And the way he handles problems with comedy, with humor, with grace, it's pretty awesome. So I would highly recommend that. But he quotes Walt Whitman in that. And there's a great scene. I won't ruin it for you. I'll send you the YouTube link later. But it's a good
Oh,
one.
I wanna know now. A good friend of mine, she works for the College of New Jersey, and, she did a whole course on Ted Lasso, and they, deconstructed
Get
a
out.
lot of the episodes. Yeah, so I'm like, "You know what? There's real value here." And actually, there's
Yeah.
all junk on TV,
It's garbage.
so I need some value rather than junk.
Yeah,
So,
it'll become your
alright.
favorite show, at least top 2, I'm not gonna lie.
Number 1, Ted Lasso, I will
Yep,
watch, and then we will reconvene on that one.
deal.
Um, I love that. So, what advice would you give for anyone in the mortgage space, right? Title, realtors, loan officers, who maybe want to grow their reach, grow their audience, grow their referral base without seeming fake? Because I think a lot of times, and you mentioned this earlier, which is why I'm bringing it up. A lot of times we can look around at what everybody else is doing and think like, "Oh, I need to be doing that. I need to be doing that." How are you staying in your lane and staying authentic to Brian?
Well, I mean, thank you for that question. It's a great question because I have the similar target audience that a lot of lenders do, and that's going after realtors. And I learned a long time ago what makes me special and what makes others not as special as me. And I'm not saying that to be conceited or anything. I'm just saying I know what I can do really well and that maybe that I'm better at the most. So what I would say is you need to know that. Number one, you need to know what your superpower is, and you need to be confident about that on what you can deliver when that comes around, right? And I hate when people say, "Oh, I can bring value." Well, what's that mean? That doesn't mean anything because what's valuable to you might not be valuable to me or to the next realtor. So what you got to say is, I always like to say this when I talk to somebody, and I've used this in my sales career for a very long time. I'm like a doctor. I'm going to ask you what your symptoms are, and I'm not just not going to give you drugs because how would I give you drugs if I don't know what your symptoms are? How can I give you solutions if I don't know what your problems are? What's keeping you up at night? And so if I know a lot of those things, what agents are asking for on a consistent basis, and I can find answers to those problems or help them with them, or even just be their partner in crime as they're trying to solve them themselves, that's valuable. At least I would consider that. But you still have to ask that question to somebody. But that brings me back to the biggest part of anything. Get out of your chair and start talking to people. You have to be seen. You have to get out there. You have to shake hands. You have to be present. in so many different ways. You don't have to be all over social media, but when you do, you make an impact. I think that's probably one of the best things. One of my friends, Mike Regina, used to say, he does some business coaching and just great sales guy in general. And he always said, be impactful, right? Another thing I heard was, be present where your feet are, right? The phone rings for us as salespeople all the time. When you're sitting in a meeting with somebody, that goes away. Put it down, put it in your pocket, whatever you got to do. Be present with somebody. Listen to what they have to say. They will tell you if you're genuinely want to help them with something, because imagine just your phone ringing incessantly. Like you're just sitting there, you got people calling you from Zillow, realtor.com, random other realtors, whatever. And then you have a bajillion title people, a bajillion lenders all ringing you up at the same time. You would want to kill your phone. You'd probably throw it after like one day of being a realtor, and I know that because, friends of mine are realtors. You got to think like that. So when you call somebody up, have a damn good reason why you're calling them up.
Mhm.
Don't just say, hey, I want to take you out for coffee. Why? Why do you want to take them out for coffee? Do they like coffee? Do you just love coffee? I don't know. Whatever. You got to have a good reason to talk to somebody. I don't call you for no reason. I have a reason why I'm calling you, you know?
Yeah, that whole story of the boy who cried wolf, it's like, if you're just calling just for another coffee appointment because that's what you were told to do, and
Right.
how many people fit into that category, you're not terrible or wrong if you've done that,
Yeah.
but then when you actually have something of value, they don't wanna listen because every other call has been for just coffee.
Right. For what? For Ricky Waters
Yeah.
said that one time. For who? For what? Why are you calling me? Right. And I think to myself, and I'm sure you probably do this in your own marketing and teach the same, is that why would I like this post? Why would I comment on it? Why, what would make me get up out of my seat and be like, hey, that was awesome what you just did. Right. And you have to have an appreciation for that to really help somebody out. But the other thing too is the part about being seen, being valuable, being out there is a lot of times because of a social media presence or me being out at networking groups, the degree of separation. Did you ever hear the 6 degrees of separation of Kevin Bacon? Did you ever hear
I
that? The
feel
whole
like it's
Hollywood
like
thing?
2 degrees now in life.
Yeah, oh my gosh, he's been in like every film. But it's insane. But the thing is, a lot of times I get intros to other people because they're like, "Oh, I know Bri. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know him? Oh, I met him at this event. He's good people." That helps you out. So if you're out there present talking with people and they see you hanging out with all their other friends or in the pictures or doing the selfies, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, this guy's everywhere. I want to get to know him, and you got to do that. Because if you can't be what did an old salesman said to me one time, and he wasn't the handsomest guy in the world, but he was very funny. He was aces when he talked to you face to face. He made you feel like $1 million. And he would tell people all the time, he's like, I have to go meet people face to face. They can't see how handsome I am over the phone. And so I mean, I loved it. I thought it was great. And see, it even brought a smile to your face. But like he was that guy that was amazing face to face. He knew his superpower. He knew I have to get in front of you. So that's what he did. He got in front of people all the time.
I love that you just said, "Bry's good people." That's my husband's favorite compliment. He's like, "If someone says we're good people, like,
Yeah.
we're winning." I'm like, "Yeah, I like
Oh
that.
yeah.
I like that a
Heck
lot."
yeah. Oh yeah.
But
Well,
being I
that's
always quote Hamilton. I feel like in every episode, there has to be some kind of Hamilton quote somewhere, but to be in the room where it happens is everything, and maybe
yeah.
we're getting back to that more and more, this post-COVID world. For a while, it was just, being on Teams and Zoom and doing
Mhm.
everything virtually, which,
Yeah.
is a great tool. Absolutely, we can be in a million places at once, but being in front of people belly to belly, having real conversation, there's nothing like it.
Yeah. No, there is. It's and I think the one good thing about COVID was when, you're actually starting to meet people again and they had those masks on and stuff. Some people they gotta brush their teeth, man. They gotta have some chewing gum. And I'll tell you this is that they were just chewing on whatever they had. So I think it kind of helped everybody out in the process. It was a learning experience. So I think there was good and bad, is what
There
I'm
wa
saying.
we'll find the silver lining wherever we can.
That's right.
Wherever we can, right?
That's right.
So what does I mean, this might be a random question, but what does leadership mean to you when no
Mm.
one's watching? when no one's looking.
Oh, that's
That's
I think you
deep.
hit the nail on the head right there. Yeah, we're going in the deep end of the pool.
Mhm.
Um,
Use that psychology degree, Brian. Come on.
for sure, for sure. No, you just said it also goes for integrity first, right? They always say it's what you're doing when nobody's watching, right? A leader doesn't take credit. They know that without the people around them, they wouldn't be where they're at here, right? They know that, yeah, sure, they take a lot of the responsibility for others, which is okay, right? Jalen Hurts, love Jalen Hurts, just the way he handles himself in the media. Oh, but you're not throwing up the stats. He's like, I don't care about stats. I care about W's. I care about winning. You're right. And you see Saquon Barkley, one of our best running backs in this generation. He is phenomenal because he's one of those guys that he knows that without his offensive line, it's not him. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to have 2,000 yards. So the first part of leadership is knowing and giving credit to those people that are helping you get there each and every day. But also, too, we talked about it before, is listening. You have to be a great listener to lead, because there's things that you get to see at this level that other people that are in the trenches that you might not see, or whatever. We try to bridge the gap between our sales and processing all the time. We don't want a wide gap. We want our processing and closing people telling us what's going on. We encourage our salespeople to go to closings, to be present, to put on the whole dog and pony show. I mean, geez, let's be realistic. Salespeople, you're paid to be likable, so go be likable and be at the closings. But we talk and communicate really well within the company, and that's how we're able to get the inside scoop. What other things are what agents are saying. Sometimes closers will tell you, Brian, you got to go talk to this person. They really loved our process. It was great. They use this other title company. They don't do the things that we do. Blah 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 blah. Go talk to them. That's awesome. But that's a hot lead I wouldn't have gotten, right? So the first part of leadership, listening. Second part is, giving credit where credit's due. But the biggest thing you got to do as a leader, more than anything, is just make sure that you're always thinking of the future. You got to have your vision 5 years, 10 years down the road, and it's hard to do that because while you're having this great old plan, wrenches are thrown in.
Oh, yeah.
There's turbulences. There's random things that happen that you can't even account for. Geez, I think we talked about it way in the beginning, with listening to people. Sometimes people leave not necessarily because it was a bad fit. Maybe it's just right time, right place for them. Hey, that's okay. We've had people that have left the company that have gone with another business or whatever, and then they've come back within 5 or 6 months and say, like, can I come back? Well, yeah, sure. Yeah, great. We'd love to have you back. So that's worked out well. We actually had a guy that started out with us and he wanted to do some processing, and he left within, I think, like 5 or 6 months of starting with us, and then he went to some other title company, and then he came back within like another 4 months, and he said, what can we do, to get me back into the saddle over here? And we said, yeah, we'll get you started, but you got to do it our way. And if you're going to come back, we need you as a closer. So here's how you're going to do it. And if you're not up for it, then no thanks. And he's like, okay, I'm in. Ended up becoming one of our best closers. So it's crazy how those things work out. You can't be looking behind. You got to always be looking forward.
I love it. I love it. Well, looking forward, taking your advice, is there anything that we didn't hit on today that you want our viewers and our listeners of Lending Leadership to know?
Yeah. Well, aside from just, you can reach out to me for any questions, consider me as a resource. I'm always up for that. Always up for those conversations. I geek out about that. And I do love coffee. So
I do love coffee too.
yeah, I'm just throwing it out there if you want to get coffee. But for the most part is, right now, I encourage anybody that I work with, try something different. You know, that 79-21 rule we were talking about, that's no joke. I hold that seriously. Try something different. If you don't have any resources with AI, get out there, talk to people, because right now what Google wants more than anything, what every other salesperson that is trying to receive, your prospects that you're trying to get out there, they all want somebody who's authentic. Know what you got to do, know who you are, reach out to these people, and follow up. Can I say that? Can I say that like over and over again? Follow up.
I think you need to
I
say
got,
it one
I
more
got,
time.
Yeah.
What was that
Follow
one
up.
thing I have to do? Yeah.
Follow up, and I'll give you a little secret. Double dial. Do you know what double dialing is?
Maybe, but I don't want
Okay.
to assume because I know
So
what happens there.
imagine this. You and I are on the phone, right? And somebody calls and you're like, I don't know who that number is, right? And then they call again. You're like, do I know who that number is? And then the third time they call, you're picking it up. You're like, I don't know who this is, but I got to pick it up. That triple dial, obviously. But if you
Yeah.
double dial or triple dial when you're trying to reach somebody, they're probably going to pick up more than likely than not. So if you're following up and doing things like that are just outside of the box, you're going to get a hold of somebody. But be impactful when you talk with them. Have a reason to call
That's great advice. I love that little takeaway at the end there. I think I might have done that by accident before, but
Yeah.
haven't done it intentionally. So I
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. I like that.
Oh, yeah.
If I double dial you, now you know where I got it from.
Sounds good.
I love it. Bri, thank you so much for just being on today. This was a great episode. True example of our Renaissance leader salesperson in this era that we're in right now. And I love that level of just curiosity and questioning everything. A lot of great nuggets today, my friend. Thank you so much.
For sure.
We'll have Brian's LinkedIn below and his website where you can get in touch with him. As always, please like and subscribe to Lending Leadership. Great episode. Great to have you on, and have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thanks so much.